There we go.
Hi,
Broadcasting live.
everybody. It's the Tom Betts Show with your co-host, Jay Jennings. Join Tom and his guests, Gianni Garco, Franco Nero, and a whole bunch of roasters on the Once Upon a Time in Spaghetti Westerns podcast. Little levity to begin today's show, Tom. How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you? I'm freezing.
Yes, it is cold, sub-zero temperatures
It
here
must
on
be.
the
Yeah.
submarine because I'm basically gliding below the Pacific. It's just me
Must.
and Gertrude. She's helming the sub. But anyway, I want to welcome all of you to episode 30, Tom. Where are the
30.
balloons and the confetti?
No.
Okay. Anyway, we'll do that for episode 100 then, Tom.
There
How's
we
that?
go.
Okay.
Yep.
We're waiting for everybody to come on in. I see people say that on YouTube Live. Let's just wait till more people come in, Tom, instead of just starting with just a couple people. But whatever, we'll yap a little bit. Episode 30, it's a special show. I've got a special opening. Everybody's coming. I'm welcoming. I can see some of our dedicated fan base all coming to the show today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. So, Tom, why don't you tell us what your weekend was as you take a sip of the apple cider spiced with real
I
vinegar?
got my special coffee with a little shot in it, so I'm ready to go.
Okay, sounds.
Just preparing for the Garco special. Waiting for Tony to get back to us to say he found him, but he's been absent. So
Right, and I'm having
sorry.
I'm having two donuts, Tom.
There you go. Krispy Kremes.
We don't do plugs here, Tom. We'll just say KK, yes.
Okay.
Anyway, so everybody's coming on in. Howdy, how everybody is. Pull up on your bunking Bronco and your Silverado and join us here up at the saloon. Tom's already having his drink. I'm having a sarsaparilla. Is it sarsaparilla or a sarsaparilla, Tom?
I've always heard it said sarsaparilla, but it's spelled sarsaparilla.
Oh, okay.
There's an R in there, so.
Absolutely. So let's, I guess we can start the show once and for all. Episode 30, Once Upon a Time in Spaghetti Westerns, the podcast. And here's our special opening just for Tom. Just for Tom. And when the clock strikes 3, Tom, we know what that means, the chimes.
It's Once Upon a Time in Spaghetti Westerns time.
Yeah! And wow, wow, wow. Okay, I know we'll get a strike for that as well. It's okay, 3 strikes and you're out, Tom. But we've had a couple copyrights. Guess what, folks? I had them rescinded because I just mentioned good old TB here.
Oh, sure.
And if I mention Chris Casey, then forget about it. They give me 2 months free. So, but anyway, welcome to everybody and to Once Upon a Time in Spaghetti Westerns, the podcast. I am Jay Jennings, Spaghetti Westerns collector, and of all things, memorabilia, video, hats, spurs. I'm just kidding. And over there on the right is the one and only Tom Betts, Spaghetti Westerns historian.
And
This is like the
sidekick.
laugh-in of Spaghetti Westerns, Tom. I keep
Yep,
waiting
I'm just
for
a sidekick waiting for you to give me the cue.
Oh, that's true. No, you're Batman, Tom. I'm just Robin. Anyway, Tom, so we've got a great topic today. It is Gianni Garco.
Gianni
Sartana's
Garco.
here, Tom.
He's my favorite spaghetti western Italian actor.
I did not know that. All these years we've known each other. I always thought it was like Nero or LVC. It's really Gianni or John Garco.
Gian Garco, as he was sometimes billed. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, he was just very cool. Always played the same type character, but nothing ever seemed to rattle him.
Absolutely. He had many looks. He had the 5 o'clock shadow. He had the famous Tom Selleck mustache before there was a Tom Selleck.
Yep.
And no, star appeal, like Nero, like LVC, probably doesn't get his just due. So that's why it's a special show on him and his spaghetti westerns. And there can only be one Sartana, even though others and
Oh,
great
that's right.
others have tried.
Exactly. It's like Sean Connery and James Bond. There's only one.
Well, yeah, I have yet to meet someone who's not a Connery man, Tom. But no, Garko sealed his. There he is with the famous stash. It's like
Yep.
a '70s porn stash, Tom.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And mic down, Tom.
Lost you for a minute.
Okay, thank you for warning me, Tom. Tom does my football referee when my mic goes down. So I was going to say one almost classic after another. Even he's bad, bad, bad. As Pupo, right, Tom?
That one was we talked with Mike Malloy about Lee Van Cleef. I keep forgetting that he's even in that movie.
It is forgettable.
He's almost got a cameo in that. I mean, he's got very few lines, and he doesn't really do anything, but he's just part of the gang. It's a shame that they didn't use him in a bigger role in that movie.
Right, and that's what another thing. If he's not shooting, he's always counting money.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Well, the other thing I was thinking of, Jay, too, in the opening scene after he shoots the guys with that Derringer, how many times have they show him in his movies pulling it out and dumping the 4 empty cartridges? I mean, that must be in every single Sartana movie he does that.
I love it. It's like a can of sardines, Tom. He's just getting rid of the bad little
There
fishes.
you go. The traces, yeah.
Great, as I said, star appeal in the Nero, Hilton, Robert Woods, nice looking matinee idol looks, Tom. And we're just going through some of his Sartana photos here with that look that he gives. You know, I am your pallbearer.
Mm-hmm.
And
just dry, yep.
Exactly. Kind of like, in a way, Anthony Stephan, Tom.
Yes, yep.
Kind of, but one thing I was going to say is they're all manly in their own way. They all have their own way of shooting, whether they dive on the ground and do 3 somersaults or pulling a gadget. Well, I think he was known for his spaghetti westerns in general, Tom. Some 90% of the time, whether it's Django, they all, with the barrel, gun. Maybe it's needed in a spaghetti western. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, they've got extra barrels. I mean, from his 4-barrel Derringer to the one that I think Berger and Stefan had, that rifle with about 6 barrels on it. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the gadgets that they came up with. Some of them are not period, but who cares? I mean, it's just cool the way that they use them in these films. So you don't even pay attention to, that wasn't invented until 1953, but it's in an 1880 movie.
Right, because unless Wild Wild West or the Roger Moore Western with James Garner was in it later. What's the name of that one, Tom? TV show?
Oh, Maverick?
Yeah. They showed gadgets, kind of like advanced gadgetry, especially Wild Wild West, which one of my favorite shows, which predates, I think, some of the things you see here. But I don't know, unless those shows were seen, if the Italian filmmakers thought they were making up, the tiny little gun in the sleeve, which Robert Conrad as James West would just flick, and out would come this Derringer.
Or Django's portable Gatling gun. I mean, that's...
Right. But what's odd about this shot
tripod
here, he's already killed the first 3 or 4 guys, Tom, with the sardine gun. Then he just flips that one up without a second thought for the last 2.
Yeah, exactly. Bang, bang.
And when the last guy dies, you ever notice he pushes his chest up even, oh, that was a bad one.
Yeah.
Right, which they do a lot in spaghetti westerns, the overacting. So what we're going to do, Tom, and we're just taking a look at some photos throughout the show. We're also going to play some great footage in the background, thanks to our friends on YouTube, Hideko, and the other one, I forget his name, Alpha 7.
John Ganoon.
Right, thank you, Hulk Janoon. So anyway, we're going to be celebrating Gianni Garco by showing clips as well as talking about him. And you in the fans, write what your favorite Gianni Garco film is, and I'll put it up so everybody can see what your favorite is or your least favorite. We'll be looking at them all. I think he was in 11 or, well, he's about 14 spaghetti westerns, Tom. He made a ton of stuff like a lot of his counterparts did, whether it was a German spy film or he made a couple gladiator films, Tom.
Yep.
Euro Spy. He's in Waterloo. Is that the one with Steiger, Tom?
I don't know if Steiger's in it, but he's in Waterloo. Yeah.
I forget. He plays Napoleon in one of them. But anyway, but I don't think anything's better as when a spaghetti western star makes an appearance in a one-time or pre-star thing. Nothing comes close to Robert Woods. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, probably. It's
Riding
fun to watch
in a jet with Henry Fonda.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some of those films. I mean, the Europeans don't know that he was in early American films, and Americans don't know that some of these guys were in early European films. But if you all of a sudden you watch them, you go, "Is that Gianni Garco?" Yeah,
right.
It sure is. Or is that Giuliana Gemma there in that, Roman gladiator outfit? Yeah, that's him. Blonde hair. And
right.
all.
I think one of them was in Airport 77 for a quick second as the pilot.
Could
Tom.
be.
Could be. You blink and you'll miss it. But that's why they all stayed in Italy, so they can be stars. Not only was Garco known for Sartana, he was also known as a Spirito Santo, Tom.
Yeah, this is not to be confused with the Vasily Karas Spirito Santo films, which are basically comedies. This is almost the opposite of Sartana. He's all in white instead of all black, but he's the same. If he's still Gianni Garco.
I might have ditched
I don't care if he's got a pigeon on his shoulder or not. He's still the same guy. Yeah.
Tom, agree with you. I would have ditched the parrot. I liked you better as Sartana.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? It's like Sinbad.
Yeah. Right.
So I can do without the levity. I know what they're trying to do. To me, it was like Beretta.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't he have a parrot or something?
Yeah, he had a parrot. Yep.
Yeah, so anyway, but it's a fun film. It's kind of like, Tom, great comparison. It's the Little Rita, take out the singing. Mm-hmm. You have a very good film. And his name was Holy Ghost, get rid of the parrot. And it's an even better film than it already is. But anyway, Tom, let's give a little background. We always give a little bio or birthplace on Mr. Garco's. I show one of his favorite or most famous poses.
Okay,
they're coming for me, Tom.
Gianni Garco was born Giovanni Garkovic on July 15th, 1935 in Zadar, Italy, which is now a city in Croatia. After World War II, the Garkovic family settled in Trieste, just across the border. After finishing school, Gianni began taking acting lessons at the local Teatro Nuovo, which is the new theater. When he was accepted as a student at the prestigious National Academy of Drama, Silvio D'Amico, he moved to Rome and made his theatrical debut in 1958 in the play Veglio la mia corsa Angelo, directed by Luchino Visconti. That same year, he also made his first appearances on television and in cinema. In 1959, director Gillo Pontecorvo cast him as a German soldier for Capo. The movie was nominated in 1961 for the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Picture category. I think because he had blonde hair, he could get away playing German. After several performances in peplums and comedies, he was cast for spaghetti western, Alberto de Cardone's would-be psychological Mille Dollari sul Nero, Blood at Sundown. Although he played the villain, he was billed second to Anthony Stephan. It was his performance that attracted the most attention. He refused several offers for Western parts until he met producer Aldo Adabati for Si Incontri, Sartana, Prega, per la morte, Sartana, or if you meet Sartana, pray for your death. All Adabati had was a rough sketch for a script and rough idea about the protagonist, a Zorro type of character. Garco signed on, inserting a clause in the contract for the final script must be approved by him. Adabati has always sustained that he got the initial idea for both the movie and the character, but several scriptwriters have claimed that he had his colleagues make up the name, referring to a word from a regional dialect, meaning frying pan. So I guess Sartana is frying pan. Along with director Gianfranco Parolini, Garco transformed the obsolete Zorro type the most sophisticated character in the history of the spaghetti western, a mystical black clad hero with almost superhuman shooting skills and unequaled ability to pop up at the right place. That's where the theory comes that he's a ghost. He's not a real person.
Right.
The Sartana movies had made Garko a star. Occasionally, he was cast in an international large scale production such as Waterloo, 1971, by Sergei Bondarchuk. But to most people and producers, he remained a spaghetti Western actor. Like most genre actors, he tried to change to giallo and crime when the spaghetti Western started to decline. He gradually ended up in cheap Italian horror and science fiction, or even cheaper German erotica films. In the 70s and 80s, he turned to television where he received good reviews for miniseries like Storia della Camorra, 1978, and especially I Promessi Sposi, 1989, an ambitious adaptation of a classical Italian novel in which Garko, oops, I'm sorry, my page is stuck together. Oops, discovered as a talented character actor. He finally became an Italian household name thanks to his part as Dr. Pier Francesco Moretti in the long-running soap series Vivere. He also made a triumphant return to the stage with an acclaimed appearance in Anton Chekhov's famous play The Three Sisters. And that's basically, he still appears once in a while, but he's basically retired today.
He's 85, Tom.
85, yep. Doesn't look it.
Sartana is 85.
Yep.
Anyway, which is great. You look like a tall scarecrow. I am Tom Betts. Anyway, Tom, how does one make your first spaghetti western and it ends up being a classic, like $1,000 on the Black?
Yep. This one is $1,000 on a Black, or Blood at Sundown, 1966. As you can see, Anthony Stephan was billed ahead of him.
Right.
Erica Blanc is in it. He plays Johnny Liston, is played by Anthony Stephan, who's been released from prison where he has wrongly served 12 years for a murder. He returns to Campos, the village of his birth, where the whole town is terrorized by Johnny's brother Sartana, played by Gianni Garco, who has taken Manuela Holt, Danielle Igliozzi, Johnny's fiancée, to be his lover. With his only friend, a mute, Johnny must seize every opportunity to find out why he was framed, who was involved, and why he is not welcomed home. Even his mother likes the Sartana character because I guess he vandalizes villages and brings her some of the spoils, so he can do no wrong. And he plays he's got all this jewelry on and stuff like that. He looks to me like a Claudio Camazo type character, and
that's tough to pull off with all
show.
that mascara, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. He's got eyeliner on, and he's just a complete opposite of the stoic Anthony Stephan. But I can see why he caught the eye of people.
Oh, absolutely. That's a classic film. Obviously, Anthony Stephan, or is it Anthony Stephens with an S?
Stefan Stephan.
But when he first started, it was Stephens, Tom.
Stephens, okay.
Yeah, he added the S to it.
It was like Robert Woods.
Anytime I could tell something, Tom, that he doesn't know, it's a day on Earth, planet Earth, knock on wood, it's a good day. Anyway, let's move to his next film, Tom. Not too shabby. We're going to star you in a series of films that's going to make you a cult star. And it's known as Sartana, but I like better, if you meet Sartana, pray for your death.
Yep.
Has the great line in it, I am your pallbearer. Got a lot of great lines, like Django, when he rescues the girl from being whipped. He says a few lines like, well, I'm going to have lunch and shoot you all. Tom, when you first saw this one, when did you first see it?
The first one I saw was Have a Good Funeral. So that's down the line a ways. So I didn't see this one probably until 3 or 4 other Sartana films. But this one has a great supporting cast, as you can see.
Oh, it's awesome cast.
Yeah.
And one of the best of all time. And the iconic rifle over the shoulder shot, which, as we talk about in the show, it comes up. There's certain symbolic things or rituals that some of these do, where there's drag a coffin across the mud. Sartana has the gun behind his back. One film, which one is it, Tom? It's a Craig Hill film, I think, where he has 3 revolvers in one.
Oh no, that's the no.
Oh no! Don't tell
I'll
me you're
think of it.
stumped.
Death Walks in Laredo with
Something like that. Well, anyway, I
Thomas
have the
Hunter. Thomas
He's
Hunter,
got
yeah.
3 revolvers
Yeah.
in one.
Yep.
And it still didn't really help the film much, but at least
No.
that we're talking about it because it was memorable.
And I posted not long ago on the blog that was a real pistol that was used in.
Well, I
in
have
the
it, Tom.
1800s.
It's in a shelf in a glass case.
Yep. But
Tom, are you kidding?
No,
I only have the rarest stuff.
It was a real gun used back in the 1880s. But I think his gun of choice, Garko's, is a rifle.
Yeah,
he basically uses the little Derringer as a hideout when he's indoors in a saloon or whatever. But his weapon of choice is his rifle.
Right. Well, anyway, for a second, Spaghetti. I skipped one. I'm sorry. No, I didn't. Okay.
You didn't.
$10,000 for a Massacre, Tom, as you know, top 5 of all time.
Yep.
Poster and film, in my opinion.
Yep.
Great story, great art direction, great photography. It's really cool. It's heavy on the mascara, I know, but just great dialogue, great scenes. One of my favorites. We've talked about this, I think, once on every of our previous 29 shows.
This is one of our favorites for both of us. I think I saw this one much later. And I mean, it opens up with this seagull flying over the sea. And you're going, did I get the wrong film in here or what? And then he's lying on the beach like it's the 4th of July. And he wakes
10 minutes shown on his feet, Tom.
Yeah, his feet. And he starts talking about life like he's talking to a buddy of his next to him. And you sort of see something next to him. And then he finally gets up and what he's got next to him is a corpse that he's bringing in for the bounty. So they put him on the horse, and then that great score starts. And then the next great scene, Jay, is that long shot of him riding across the desert and another rider coming towards him.
Right.
And as they get closer, it's Claudio Camaso, and they sort of like, who is this guy? And Camaso says the same thing to himself. And then finally, when they pass each other, they sort of look at each other like, do I know you? Or do you recognize me or whatever? And then
we are brothers.
Yeah. Then they depart, and it goes on there. But I mean, to me, again, and he won't go after Camaso, even though he's an outlaw.
I wonder
he
why,
hasn't got a big enough price on his head. He only goes after people that got $10,000 bounty. That's where the title comes from. But again, this has got probably my favorite scene in the entire genre. Is he decides that he's fallen in love with what's her name? Loredana Nusiak. Right. She wants him to go away with him, and he says, "No, I got $10,000 on the line. Bring in Camaso. So I'm not going to go with you. I'll join you later." So he joins up with Camaso as a member of the gang to try and be his buddy and catch him by surprise. And they do a stagecoach robbery, and they blow up a hillside to block Garko from going in on the robbery. So by the time Garko gets there, there's a bunch of dead bodies lying around, and the stagecoach has already been robbed, and Camaso and his gang's gone. And Garko walks up to the stagecoach, and he looks inside, and there's Loredana Nusiak dead. And there's about a 3-minute scene there where there's no dialogue, just that great score, and his eyes tell it all. First he's shocked, and then he's pissed, and then he's regretful because he was supposed to go with her, and he can't believe his eyes. And it's just a fantastic scene. It's just all facial expressions on Garko's face that tells the story.
Where was that scene ranked, Tom? Next to Knuckles on the train station?
There's 2 great scenes. The other one is the one with Juliana Gemma, A Roof for a Sky Full of Stars, at the very opening when the stagecoach is robbed. And again, the people in there are massacred. And Gemma's watching from afar because it's 1 against 10. And so he goes down to the stagecoach, and there's this woman that's dead. And he just, again, he doesn't say a thing. He just looks, and he's just completely angered. And then he starts digging the graves for these guys. And Mario Adorf, as a miner, is watching him and comes down and helps them. But the scenes are just fantastic, and there's no dialogue. It's like the beginning of Once Upon a Time in the West. You can tell what's happening, and you don't need any dialogue. Yep.
Tom, you've now forced me to go into my closet, find an old tape and for a roof full of skies, the stars fell down
Lower
and we
Roof.
sang
Yep.
Twinkle,
Whatever. Yep.
Twinkle, one of the worst titles in spaghetti Western history. It's a better film than the
Oh
title.
yeah, and it's all filled with
One of the better
Alessandroni
Gamma
whistling in the very
films.
beginning, so
Right.
it's worth the search.
See, folks, Tom mentions 3 scenes you got to check out before you hit the pavement. Anyway, here's a next film coming up. Three great films in a row. 4 great films in a row. Chris Casey, our good buddy, hates when we even utter any resemblance of Vengeance is Mine to $10,000 for a Massacre. Completely different film, different characters. You can't find that poster anywhere, Tom. Only
Nope.
in my storage facility.
That's a good one.
It's one of my favorite posters of all time. But anyway,
I think they're linked together because they were made one after the other, but they use
with
a
the
lot
same
of the same
cat, with the same crew,
cast.
the same wardrobe. But as I said, it's an ongoing thing between us old fogies. Is it a sequel? Is it not a sequel? Is it part of the first film? Do characters come and go? Did they shoot it simultaneously? Yep. I always love when we discussed $1,000 for Massacre and Vengeance is Mine has been companion pieces because you could watch them separately, but do it months apart so you don't put 2 and 2 together. If you watch it one after another, as a human being, your brain's going to think, is this an updated or an alternate version of this first film?
Yeah, titles are similar. I mean, the casts are similar. The crews are similar. So, I mean, why wouldn't you think that they're, copies? It's like the Sabata movie. I mean, we all know that. There you go, Jay. They're coming to get you.
I'll be right back.
It's like Adios Sabata. It's supposed to be Indio Black, but they changed the title to make it merge in with the other 2 Sabata films. So it is.
Any title that they give this film, Tom, no matter what it is awesome. It's just one of those films that you just doesn't lose. That's why in the top 5, I'd even put it top 3.
Yeah, it's
it could be number 3 all time for me, Tom. Once I think about you saying you're crazy, there's better films. Of course, pick any Leone. See, I'm of that ilk where pick a Leone, any of the 5 or 4, and that's fine for me. That's my representation.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
After that, Django, of course. It's just sorry. And then third would have to be $10,000 Blood Money, Tom.
Yep.
In that order. And then fourth, perhaps The Mercenary. He sold human flesh for pennies on the dollar.
Well,
or something like that. I met Tony Musani.
That's why I don't like lists. That's why I don't like lists because my mind change all the time. My top 5,
I stick with it, Tom. There's no rearranging. Like Citizen Kane's the greatest film. Magnificent Anderson is second. Touch of Evil is third. Lady from Shanghai fourth. Oh, they're all Wells films. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People have their Gone with the Winds and Streetcar Named Desires and Wizard of Oz's and even some modern movies. I have friends who put Scarface is my favorite film, Jay. It's a great classic from the 80s, but I wouldn't put it in my top all time. That's reserved for D.W. Griffith, Wells, Cassavetes, early Scorsese, but I'm turning into Tony Williams.
Exactly.
Anyway, there's only one Tony Williams, which we want to thank, by the way, for being our guest last week. Riveting show full of information. And, of course, Mike House, his great digests and books on spaghetti Western. So that all our episodes are available on Facebook and on YouTube. All 30. Anytime, any place. You could binge watch. Honey, time for bed. I'm watching episode 18. So when Tom name drops the 39 times Django was mentioned, right, Tom?
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, let's move along with another great Gianni Garco film. And it's one of my favorite posters too, Tom. What a surprise. Cowards Don't Pray.
Cowards Don't Pray. There you go. The great Sean Todd Chimongo is in there. But yeah, this one we haven't
Sean Todd, is that Ivan Nazimov? What's his name?
Yeah. Yeah,
Razumov.
Rasimov. Yep.
What
This
was he
one we
known
haven't
for?
talked about before. I mean, we've
You know,
showed the poster.
don't get me wrong. It's one of those names you just and a light bulb goes over your head.
Yep.
Sean Todd show, perhaps. Did he do enough, Tom?
Yeah, probably five. We
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 could
could
milk it.
we could do him and his twin sister.
Who's from The Shining?
His sister is Rada Rasimov, was in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, a
Okay,
couple
you're
of
right.
other
We'll do
ones.
the
Yeah.
Razumov twins show, Tom.
I just found out that this week that they were twins because every time I look them up, their birthdays are the same, but no one ever says that they're twins. They just say they were, born on this date. And I go, well, wait a minute, that's the same date as as her brother.
Okay.
And someone finally said, yeah, they're twins. Okay.
Yeah, they're the white
But
stripes of spaghetti western,
yep,
Tom.
this one we haven't really talked about. I'll give you a quick breakdown on what it is. It's a group
Yeah.
of northern vigilantes roaming the post-Civil War South, attack and kill the fiance of war veteran Brian Clark, who's Gianni Garco, who is rescued by his friend Daniel Ivan Rasimov. The two, with brother Robert Clark, played by Jerry Wilson, set out to find the killers, but Brian, suffering from amnesia and becoming frustrated with not remembering the killers' faces, starts killing at random and loses the support of his other two brothers, or his other two partners. Um, this one also has Susanna Markova in it, and that is Johnny Garco's wife. She appears in this film with him. So it's a decent film. It's a little bit different because he goes off the rails, but a lot of action in
Well,
this
you have
one.
to
And,
start. You have to start going in different directions, Tom. When that happens, right? Well, then, I
yep,
mean, didn't Nero did that with Kioma? It's totally
yeah,
different direction.
yep.
Sometimes it's good to revitalize the genre with something new and different. It's
Yeah,
shocking.
especially when you're associated with one character, where he was
Right, exactly. Just take out that opening theme song and we're good to go on Kioma.
Yep.
Anyway, so moving right along, one film after another, whether it's a Sartana film, Tom, or he's sharing the screen with a Claudio Camaso. It's just another Sartana film. Some consider this perhaps the best, Tom.
Yeah, I like this one the best. Chris Casey doesn't because he rides into town and it's like an 1880s Vegas with neon signs that hadn't been invented yet.
That makes it so cool,
Yeah,
though.
Poker Flats is the 19th century Vegas, but it's again, it blows your mind when you see him riding down the street, looking in both directions with blinking
That is
neon
so
lights.
awesome. That's my favorite scene.
Yeah,
But anyway, I'm Sartana, your angel of death. Great poster, of course. I have a whole run of Sartana posters, Tom. Anyway, so when did you see this? Another one from Video Search Miami, Tom?
I never bought anything from Video Search of Miami.
No, you're kidding. That was that and a
Sinister Cinema.
Are you kidding? That's where I got all my black. This is before when VHS first came on the scene, Tom. There was two places, Sinister Cinema and Video Search Miami. Video Search Miami had spaghetti westerns, Italian giallo, horror, zombies, the Templars, whatever you needed. And it was like $50 a tape. It was really expensive. Yep. But when you got it, you either lucked out. It was a pristine print in 16 millimeter or it was a fourth generation boot.
Yeah.
But you didn't care because there it was. What's an example? I don't know, any film you can think of by Fulci or Argento. Stuff. I was getting all or Franco. I was getting all the 70s horror back in the day.
Yep.
But this was one I think that Video Search Miami had before anybody had it. Tom.
Oh, yeah,
so yeah, it has Klaus in it. So when Klaus is in it,
Frank Wolf's in it.
Yeah, you can't beat that. Okay, so let's move on to another great Sartana movie, Tom. Light to Fuse, Sartana is coming. There's another poster that I have.
Sartana's in town.
Yeah, it's where he has the horses, or one horse, or two horses. I don't know if it's one horse. He's got three dead bodies, maybe over a single horse, lumped over like this. So the
Yeah.
feet are sticking out of the poster, kind of a 3D effect, which is cool.
Yep.
Anyway, Tom, what about this one?
This I didn't see this one until late either. This one's
Really?
about he plays a gambler or helps a gambler named Grand Full. Again, Chris hates these names of these characters, Buddy Ben and all that kind of crap. He wants them to be known as John Martin or something, but no way, no Grand Full stuff. Anyways, he helps a gambler named Grand Full who claims to have been wrongly accused of murder. Sartana breaks Grand Full out of jail, and the pair escape to Manfield, the site of the crime, where they battled bounty hunters and a wicked boss, Massimo Serrato, before the Sartana figures out that he's been had. Needless to say, Sartana does not take kindly to having been fooled. So, a couple of Sartana films, Jay, where he's been accused of a robbery, someone impersonating him, or he's fooled. And I mean, he's not the guy that you should play around with, because he doesn't get mad, he gets even.
Right. He cuts to the chase. As we talked about
one,
the gadgets, whenever you speak of a
Sartana
film,
I was going to say the gadgets. This one's the one with Alfie, the little wind-up clock that he sets around. It's not a robot; it's a clock. And then the other one at the end. This is the one with a pipe organ in the middle of the street, where he's playing the organ, but all the pipes are filled with gunpowder and shells and stuff. So
they're kind of reminding me
over the top.
Like a spaghetti western version of Dr. Phibes, Tom.
Yeah, it's over the top, that's for sure.
Very, very over the top. So what we're going to do is as we continue talking about the spaghetti westerns of Gianni Garco, once again, we want to thank you all in Facebook land and in YouTubeville for watching our show, our loyal fan base. Tom, 1,200 followers, Tom. Don't spit up your apple cider. Oh, you did.
Wow, 1,200 now. I didn't check this
in
week.
about 6 months, Tom. 6 or 7 months, so half a year. This time next year, we'll have about 2,500. We'll be at show. Well, let's double it then. We'll be at show 60.
Probably 65 or 70, because we didn't start till May.
We've won the gamut. We'll have every fan who's ever watched this show as a guest. So anyway. We want to thank you all. Once again, this is on high noon Pacific Standard Time, 3 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 o'clock in Europe, and 8 o'clock in the UK. Japan could be 3 or 4 in the morning, Tom?
It's 4 in the morning.
Right, so we got some fans there. We have fans from Brazil, Argentina, China, Japan, Amsterdam, Istanbul, the Soviet Union.
Is anybody
on
saying
a decent time?
Is anybody saying what their favorite Sartana film or Garco film
that's
is?
That's right. Okay, well, anyway, we're on a delay, Tom, so we'll see it 5 minutes from now.
That's fine.
But why don't you type in your favorite Sartana film and why, and we'll put it on the screen so everybody can see what films you like. Don't know if you can hear the construction next to me. We've got construction, buzzing, hammering, drills, power drills, power
That's our new
saw.
studio going
30 feet outside of this window, Tom. 6 of them on a roof, and they don't care. They're going to be here for weeks. It's another podcast.
It's our new studio going up.
So anyway, let's get back to the show, Tom. But now it's time for something special, Tom. And you say, I'm going to have to... Oh, I am wearing earplugs. I'm going to put in earplugs, and I am wearing earplugs, Tom.
It's going to be loud.
Let's continue the show, Tom, and with our Garco tribute. And here we go. Let's talk about his films.
That's the one I love. That's the one I love right there. That's a great.
So he did.
Great theme.
Well, after Have a Nice Funeral, he did Sartana Kills Them All. Or did we even get to Have a Nice Funeral?
We haven't done Have a Nice Funeral. That's the one that I first saw, and that's the one with the burning cabin in the beginning, and they used that burning cabin in a lot of spaghetti westerns. Yep.
Well, that's my favorite. The one with you say burger, you say Berger, I say burger, like hamburger. Yep. We'll never know, unfortunately, but...
And George Wang's in it, which we've discussed. The other thing I want to ask, Jay, is in all of these westerns that he's in, he gets involved with these problems in a town or whatever. He doesn't know any of these people. Why does he care?
That's right.
Just rides up and someone's house is burning down. Okay, goes into town and starts becoming a detective. Yeah. There you
wherever
go.
he is, he has to revenge everybody, Tom.
Yeah. Ah, there we go.
There's
Burger.
the great William Burger, of course.
Yep.
We did a full show on that's another famous shot with him at the.
God, I haven't seen that one before.
Yeah.
There they are. You know, it's amazing too, because when we talked to Tony, he said that George Hilton and Gianni Garco never appeared together.
Really?
Remember that? He said they never acted together. No, they knew each other, were good friends, but they never appeared in a film together. Yeah.
I have most of these, Tom.
Do you?
Not that one.
I haven't seen that one.
I told you I stay away from the ones that I just can't understand.
Yep. CD,
I understand Italian, German, French, American, but when you get some of the Polish and Russian
Czech,
ones,
Turkish,
and I do have a few. That's one of my favorite right there, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I guess that's it.
That's it.
Okay, it'd be nice if we end that segment. So we took a little bit of some of the posters and lobby cards of the great Gianni Garco. And don't forget later on, I'll go right through them real quick. We're going to have Book of the Week, and we're going to have Album of the Week, and we're going to have Autograph of the Week, and we're going to have the Weekly News, and then Tom's new favorite segment.
The WAI Vault.
Yep. And Bad Man's River, he's bad, bad, bad. You won't want to miss how Tom came up with that particular issue. It's a riveting story. Tom was going over it with me before the show. Anyway, just to remind everybody, you're watching this on Facebook.com at the same URL as always. And when you're finished, head on over to Tom's Westerns all'Italiana Facebook page. And then, of course, you don't want to miss Seb's Spaghetti Western database. I thank all our groups and other later at the end of the show, but that's just a little heads up on what's to come. So anyway, Tom, so he made Have a Nice Funeral.
Yep.
And did we show light? We did show Light the Fuse, didn't we?
Yep.
Okay. So let's see with Have a Nice Funeral. Okay. So there's the famous pose again.
Yep. There's the bodies hanging over. Yep.
On one horse.
One horse.
It's tough to get one on there, Tom. Great poster, of course. It's one of my favorite films in the series. One of my favorite titles, too. Have a Nice Funeral, My Friend.
A couple more English titles which you love. One of them was English title was called A Present for You, Amigo, A Coffin from Sartana.
Right.
And another one, Stranger's Gold, was a USA video title. Also Gunslinger and Have a Nice Funeral, My Friend. I put in my database the English or USA titles, which were basically video, but both Jay and I like the translations of the Italian titles. They're much more poetic.
Right. And just posting some of the comments that are coming up.
There you go. First Sartana's the best. Let It Sundown. Yep. Call Me Cemetery. Yep. Yeah, don't be afraid to look these things up on YouTube because they got some great prints on there now.
Yeah, believe it or not, and we're not going to mention any names, but just do a Google search for spaghetti westerns.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing what they're letting people get away with, which is fine. Grab it while you can, because spaghetti westerns are really rare. And
especially the early Spanish ones, 62,
right.
63.
Well, what the guy's doing, he's taking some prints and putting them up where
Right.
usually it used to be verboten. You didn't do that. But it looks like YouTube is giving a little leeway with the cinema, because there's a couple of them. I don't want to name names as much as I love using them. Some are in Italian, some are right here. They have the word gringo in it. There you go, which is
Hmm.
probably the one that is the best one out there on YouTube. And it used to be some people were putting up their not even 240p. It was like
Oh yeah.
180p. It was these horrible fifth generation. You get thousands of comments. Great, this is a great print. I'm
Yeah,
like,
you
you
can see
people are
ghosts
either
in the
blind or
background.
on
Yeah.
drugs, because it's
Uh-huh.
the worst print I've ever seen.
Yep.
And this is the way it was for years when it came to spaghetti westerns, Tom, on YouTube. The worst prints. But you know what the excuse was, or the other side, but at least someone's putting them up,
Yeah. I got to
and
see
you could
it.
still use a YouTube grabber or something and take it for your own collection and stuff.
Yep.
But in the last 2 or 3 years, a couple of these Italian or spaghetti, where am I, Western channels, they have different sections, and one of them is, one is old time John Ford films, Gene
Hmm.
Autry, uh, Gary Cooper, Randolph Scott, but then they have like a bunch of films in spaghetti western, and you look at the date; they're from 2018 till now. That's why you better grab them or watch
Yep.
them, because these are 720p, 1080p. I'm a big buff when it comes to this. I'm shocked it hasn't been removed,
I know. I
Tom.
know. And every once in a while, someone will post one on Facebook. I mean, click it and save it. I mean, watch it later. But I mean, even if it's a pretty crummy comedy, the prints are fantastic. They're worth watching.
Right, and so and that's what the argument is. Well, you don't own them and blah blah blah. But that was the deal when
Who
YouTube came
does?
on a long time ago. There's a gray area. If the people who are running the channel maybe aren't making money off of it, and it's for educational purposes, as if this show is for
Hmm.
research. I might have to start, testing the waters, Tom, what I can and can't show before I get another X marks the spot. But anyway, getting off on another tangent that's off topic, I apologize as usual. Next comes Sartana Kills Them All, Tom.
Yeah, this goes back and forth between Sartana Kills Them All and Santana Kills Them All. I don't know if it was the. I think it's the
Tom,
original.
let's leave Santana out of the equation.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's basically he's dressed a little bit differently. He looks more like a cowboy
He's dressed like Chuck
than
Norris, Tom.
yeah. He looks more like Chuck Connors in these things that
No, he
than
looks like? He looks like Manaja.
Manaya. Yeah,
Manaya. You say Manaya, I say
Manaya.
Manaja.
Maurizio Merli. Yeah,
Yeah, that's who it looks like to me.
yep. But this one is
Anyways, it's a
about
good film. There's a lot of violence, nice bloodshed.
yep.
If
This
that's
one
your
is
thing, what would you rate this on all the Sartana films, Tom?
below the Sartanas, but right. Well, crap. There we go. $10,000 for a massacre. How many? Probably 8 or 9.
This is probably the last.
Midway.
This is 8 or 9, Tom.
Yeah, midway.
It's bottom of the barrel Sartana, but it is Sartana. Great poster.
Hmm.
The film isn't that bad. It's just not as good as the rest. The shooting, the acting. But once again, spaghetti westerns are subjective. Do you care about that? Do you want to see a Leone film every time, or do
Right.
you just want to see bloodshed, pillaging, towns being burned down, a town called Hell? If that's what you want to see, then spaghetti westerns are for you.
Yep.
Anyway, Tom, here comes one of my favorite guilty pleasures for LVC, but we know Garko is in it for a minute, and I've been singing this all show. He's bad, bad, bad.
Yeah, this one. Until they started putting reproduction posters up there, and they actually put Garko in the poster. I mean, he's barely seen in this one. You don't forget that he's even in the movie. He just plays one of the gang members.
I forgot that
And
James Mason's also in it, Tom.
they really blew it by not using him as a bigger role.
And one of the most beautiful women in the history of Italian cinema, up there with
Gina?
Sophia Loren and Claudia Cardinale. Try saying this fast 3 times with peanut butter, Tom. Gina Lollobrigida.
Lollobrigida.
Yeah,
Yep.
Orson Welles was a big fan of hers as well. Even made a special TV special called Gina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is fascinating. He talks to her, Gina, what are you working on now? Well, or said, let me tell you. So anyway, it's an okay film, not one of LVC's best, let alone John Garco's. But I love the song. I love, you know what? It's not the best song. You can say, well, how do you not like Little Rita, but you like that song? I don't know. It's all subjective, folks. Anyway, so he made that, appeared in it. I wouldn't even call that. Tom, you didn't even discuss it because it's not. We've already discussed it, right?
Just discussed it
He plays
almost
Pupo?
every episode. Yeah, we talk about it.
Okay. Every other episode, we discuss Bad Man's River. Well, that's what we do on the show, Tom. We'll grab different titles from show 2, show 8, show 15,
We all relate.
rummage it around, rehash it, and it comes out again another show in a different fun way. Portrait of Gina, exactly. As my good friend, Professor Tony Williams, reminds me on private message. Anyway, after Bad Man's River, Tom, he basically makes, as I said, the Parrot movie, and his name was
Yep.
Holy Ghost.
I think someone in this production liked birds because he's got the dove on his shoulder, and his sidekick was Chris Huerta, is called Chicken. So I think this movie is for the birds.
Well, I think the pigeon's relieving himself. Tom, I wouldn't be surprised. That would have been a great question to ask him, Tom, if we ever get him on the show. Did the birds ever take a dump
really.
on your shoulder?
And is it a real bird on his shoulder all the time, or do they put?
Oh, right, or is it just hi, Polly, pretty Polly?
Yeah,
Polly doesn't move because Polly is stuffed, Tom.
At least it doesn't talk.
Right, and this isn't the one with the. Is that that opening? Which song? Which one is that, Tom?
The one you played with the. I don't know which one that is. That's with Berger.
Anyone out there knows that terrible rendition of a Sartana film that I just did? Well, well, it's popping in my head, Tom. Well, that sounds like James Bond, Tom.
I have to go back and look through all the titles.
I know they're all derivative of each other, right, Tom?
Yeah, Nikolai's a composer. I know that, but.
Okay. Anyway, so then after his name was Holy Ghost, he made actually another favorite of mine, Tom, one of my favorite posters. They call him Cemetery.
Yep. They call him Cemetery. They call him Graveyard. The Stranger at Vespers. Bullet for a Stranger. Yep. This is the one that you like, the poster with the 2 kids in it. The McIntyre brothers who come out west, and Johnny has to teach them how to protect themselves. He teaches them how to shoot.
Excuse me, sir. Will you show us how to shoot like that?
Yeah, really. They meet them on the stagecoach. That's right. Christopher Chattel and John Fortis play the kids.
It's like a Sabata movie, Tom.
Yeah, and he becomes good friends, and all of a sudden the bad guys decide they're going to hire Garco's best buddy, William Berger,
who's basically playing banjo.
Yeah, exactly. So you got Sartana against banjo.
That's great. Sartana versus banjo, Tom.
Yep, it's great.
That should have been one of the titles.
Sartana plays the banjo. Okay.
Right. The question is, who does more flips on the ground during shooting? Is it Banjo with his banjo, or is it Anthony Stephan in A Few Dollars for
Yeah,
Tango?
Anthony Stephan. It's like every film he does.
He just keeps rolling like a barrel.
Yeah,
he never stops.
The only way he can shoot is on the ground. Yeah, he can't shoot standing up.
Hey, Banjo, there's some guys out there waiting for you. And then he just packs his banjo. You don't know what's going to happen, right, Tom?
That's right. Move on.
Right. So let's move on to the next film, Tom. Not bad. When I was a kid, I thought this was a Vincent Price movie.
Yeah, this one he plays a character named Silver, and we talked about this because Kinski's in it.
Well, Tom, did you ask me why I thought it was a Vincent Price film?
Why did you think it was a Vincent Price movie?
Because it's called The Price of Death.
Oh, the Vincent Price of Death?
The Price of Death, Tom.
Oh, my God.
Starring Clark Kinski and
it's
me,
also called
Vinny
The Last
Pig.
Gunfight.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one is Chester Conway
great
and
poster,
Silver.
though, Tom.
Yep. Kinski at his best.
And once again, Garko looks like the star of Menage.
Yeah, he defends Kinski, who's jailed for a murder, and then when it's all over, Kinski gets out, and then he finds out he murdered someone else. So Garko sort of has egg on his face.
Right. It's actually not bad film. Anything Klaus is in,
Yep.
except when they give him the voice of a Fey librarian. What are you boys gonna do?
Or the
Well, you
Southern
stay
accent.
here, and I'll go talk to the Reverend.
Yeah,
It's
the
like
Southern accent's the
the
other
only
one.
thing I would have liked, and you can't do this obviously because it's spaghetti westerns. If anything, it was international. You had crews from Spain and Italy and whatever Portugal and you name it, all working together and on different films, and they knew how to work together. And there weren't really time for interpreters, I don't think, back then. But since they all knew what they were doing, if somebody spoke a little bit of broken Italian or broken English or something,
Yep.
that's how it was back then. Kind of a union of gaffers and unit men and second unit. It was just one big union, all working in
Oh,
Almeria. They'd
sure.
go to Spain or they'd shoot on the Italian towns and stuff, or some
And
of
they
the
worked.
studios there. So it wasn't like in the United States where they traveled the world like Lawrence of Arabia. You'd actually go to a foreign country and shoot for that
Yeah.
authenticity. You built the sets in Italy or Spain. So where am I going with this? So
Well,
anyway,
they
my
worked.
point.
They worked so well together because they made so many films. And Almeria is not that big of an area, so they probably had the same people over and over and over again.
Right. I know why I mentioned it. Because my point in my brain, I was going to say, well, why didn't a lot of these stars speak their own language in the film? Well, it would be silly if all of a sudden you see Klaus speaking German during a scene. But in a way, it would have been nice to hear Klaus's angry,
Yeah,
sophisticated
that's true.
voice when he's slapping around people in a pool hall.
That's true.
As opposed to just hearing the Fey voice they usually would give him. Y'all boys new in town? It's like, so anyway, or sometimes you'd watch, what's the Craig Hill 15 Scaffolds for a Killer, where he pulls into town and everybody in the saloon who used to be his friend, what do you want? Who are you? What do you mean, Tom? You
Yeah.
used to serve me all my drinks. Well, the things are different now. And
That's
then
right.
his old lady got involved with somebody else. My point is, you see Craig Hill, he's all scruffy and he's angry and he's got like a high top voice, in that
Mhm.
film. And you want him to be angry and what's going on with this town? Instead, it's like, well, I guess I'll leave then. It's like, that's not very manly. So
Excuse
that
me,
was
I will
one of my main
leave.
complaints growing up watching spaghetti westerns, Tom, is sometimes the dubbing didn't
Yeah,
match
the
how
character.
harsh the character should actually be played.
Yeah.
For Gary Cooper, you just have, yup. That's all yup. But anyway, let's move on, Tom, from this excellent German poster to, I guess his last spaghetti western. Tom, is that
Yep.
the one he made with Stephen Boyd?
Yeah, that's Those Dirty Dogs, and it's got a great vocal with Stephen Boyd singing. But this one, he plays a Muslim bounty hunter. This one's about Army Captain Chadwell Willer, played by Stephen Boyd, is sent by President Grant to stop the activities of Mexican bandits. He is aided and abetted by a Muslim bounty hunter named Carano, named after Quran, I'm sure, Garko, who, like Boyd, is no more trustworthy than he has to be. A blood-splattered gunfight climaxes his outing. But this has got the great vocal by Stephen Boyd.
I'm trying to find it. That's not it.
Riding with the wind in my face, searching
Hold
for the
on.
human race,
Let me
out
try
on the
this
road
again.
again.
Oh, that is it. Okay.
Yep.
Let's try this again, folks.
This is about as close to a comedy that he made. There you go.
Riding with the wind in my face, searching for the human race, out on the road again, fighting for the rights of men.
But he talks it, he doesn't really sing it, Tom.
Yeah.
Come off your mountain proud, shout it to the world aloud, with someone here to share my hand, I'd never ever leave this land. Woman, you're not a friend. Every time I come to you, I find that you're changing your mind. Always when the chips are down, I find I can't.
I'm sure we'll get a strike for this, Tom.
I'm sure you're done.
Doodle-doo-doo. Making making my way through the dust. As certain people say I must.
His umbrella or parasol turns
Asking
into a
only just
machine
to
gun.
know and begging for the wind to blow. Woman, you're not a friend. Every time I come
It's a lot of busts right there, Tom.
She's busting wide open there.
Right. Kind of looks like The Professionals or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of action. That's the climax. Yep.
Anyway, I'm sure I'll get an X for that. I'll get a strike, but hopefully it was worth it for everybody.
That's a great one.
Because that's a great Tom likes the LPs.
I love that one. Yep.
We did that especially for Tommy. Anyway, so those were the spaghetti westerns of Gianni Garco. They're all available on Blu-ray, Tom, or some are not. We didn't mention that.
I didn't go through them. I know I would say they're all on DVD, at least.
All are on DVD, but whether they're on Blu-ray, you just go on the SWDB.
They released that Sartana box series, a year ago or so. I'm sure those are all
True.
Blu-ray.
Great print.
Yeah. Those got to be Blu-ray.
But the thing is, every year or two, they come out with a new Sartana box set. You have to keep upgrading 4K, 8K, 20K.
Yep. 3D.
So anyway, Blu-ray is good with me. Crystal clear. Maybe I don't want it that crystal clear. Maybe I want to see an imperfection or something, right,
Yeah.
Tom? As opposed to digital artifacting.
I stopped the Blu-ray.
So that is our big show on Gianni Garco, and let's see. I was going to look and see if anybody was.
Tell them our attempt.
Okay, what John Hofstas has to say. He enjoys. They call him Cemetery.
Yep.
Okay, and let's see who
where
else. It's fun.
For Sartana, you get a broad range of films that people like.
I'm just trying to find maybe one more. Okay, I guess that's it. Don't be shy, folks. When I take a poll, go ahead and type up a favorite, whether it's Garko or Mario Adorf. Just type a favorite in, and I'll put it on the screen.
Anyways, Jay was in contact with Mr. Daniel Camargo because Daniel knows Gianni Garco over in Italy, and he tried to contact him for 3 days and never made contact with him. But we tried to get him on the show, even if it was just to come in and say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. But we'll keep trying. Maybe we'll bring him on another time if he's willing. So just want to let you guys know we tried.
Well, he knows. Yeah, we tried. There's a whole row. I've got the biggest rejection list in history. It's nothing personal. Everyone I've spoke to are representatives. They want to do the show. It's either because of now the situation we're in, or the lack of the language difference,
Technical problems,
or someone's a little older than. But they all said they would do the show, but something, either technical difficulties or they're not up hip to computers, or a language barrier.
Yep.
But anyway, don't worry. We're still shooting for the stars, folks. We got lots of great shows coming up. I guess I'll make the announcement now. Tom, should I mention our vacation plans?
Oh yeah.
So since we're at the end of the Garco's part of the show, Tom and I have decided that after 30 episodes, and with Christmas and New Year's coming up, it'd probably be best to take our usual 2-week vacation break from the show. I personally would keep going. My wife would divorce me and take our child. So I'm going to think second of it. So we're going to take a break. Gives you all time to catch up on the 30 episodes that are available at any time, archived on YouTube and here on Facebook. So for next week's show, which is December 18th, and then the 25th, or no, I'm sorry, we're doing next week's show, Tom.
Yep, we'll do next week's. Then we'll
sorry,
take
folks,
2 weeks off.
the show after next week. We're gonna the week before the week of Christmas and the week of New Year's.
Yeah, if Jay and I can decide, maybe we'll do another show or two, but they won't be on Christmas and New Year's. We might do a Saturday
we'll sneak
show
in one and not tell you about it.
Exactly, yeah.
And just appear on Facebook.
See who's paying attention, yeah. Right.
With Jack Betts.
Yep.
So we'll have the Betts brothers and me in a couple of weeks. But anyway, so just a word of caution, a little word of warning. The Christmas and New Year show might be a hiatus, and we'll be back again with the new year with new riveting shows here on the podcast. Anyway, so I guess, Tom, we'll get to Book of the Week, Tom?
Whatever. Book or album?
Whatever you say, Jay.
Book of the week.
But how do I usually do the promo, Tom? I like to do this first.
Boy, that bell's loud.
Was that loud?
Yep, no, that's right. I'm just kidding. It's not any louder than the bell in the opening.
I'm trying to add some fun to the show, Tom. The thing I didn't like is I had Book of the Week, 2 separate graphics, which was stupid. But anyway, you can go first, Tom, and then I'll go.
Book of the week. The Man with No Name.
Wow, what's that?
This is by Ian Johnstone. Also did a documentary called the same thing, The Man with No Name. It's about Clint Eastwood.
Look at that
Came out in
cover,
1981. Tom. It's a British production.
Wow.
Up
And
to
it's
that
mostly
point,
spaghetti
it's got
westerns?
his biography and pictures.
It's mostly spaghetti westerns?
Well, it's his entire career, but he pertains most of it to the spaghetti westerns. Yeah,
That's great.
it's one of the better
Alrighty.
biographies on
So
Eastwood, and it's not goes into great detail, or it's not boring.
But this is in the early 80s, if you wanted to know about him and his career. How did they cover the spaghetti westerns?
He's British, so he's like Tony Williams. He enjoys them. He doesn't.
He's
go into
like
great
Tony
detail.
Williams.
Yeah, it doesn't go into great detail or frailing type of analysis, but yeah.
But that what's funny about books, Tom? We discussed this here ad infinitum, ad nauseum. Do you want an easy read, or do you want to be lectured to? I actually don't mind, because who frailing is, I actually don't mind.
Yeah.
Those times when I have some quiet time, or the wife's asleep and I put on the nightlight, I don't mind popping open a frailing book and being lectured to.
Yeah.
It's the other books that kind of there's a lecturing, and they kind of don't have the this is all about status again, I guess. It all depends who you are. If you can talk the talk and walk the walk, then by all means lecture me, and I'll enjoy it. But if you're not really of that level, and you're doing like we talk about that radicalization of spaghetti westerns book with Lee Van Cleef on the cover, you really, really have to have some free time on your hands.
Yeah. Yep.
To read that. It is a lecture, to the 10th degree. I'm just making comparisons to easy reading or a lecture.
I don't mind being, like you said, lectured at. I don't want to hear somebody's opinions. You got to have some basis for those opinions. I don't want to just read what if you like or don't like something without telling me why. It's just like, well, blah, 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 blah. But like you said, when Eastwood got big, and Bronson, Palance, there were no books on these guys. So we were scrambling for anything that we could find to find out about their past lives, history, films.
Well, this is a coincidence, Tom. I picked it also with Clint on the cover, but it's Spaghetti Western, a thematic analysis.
Yep, I've
by
got
Bert
that one.
Fridland.
Yep, but see, thematic analysis.
Right, and it kind of is both ways. It's an easy read, and it's a little bit of a lecture, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah, Bert's a friend. Bert's
so
a
if you
fan.
can find that on where.
Yep.
As I said, I don't like to mention places that begin with an E or an A, but sometimes they slip out because we're not about plugging anything unless it's our own stuff. So anyway, that's my book of the week. It's an enjoyable read. It's easily accessible in most outlets. Okay, so now we'll move on to what I usually would like to join Tom on this. Maybe I'll have to go through my CDs, but I usually let Tom do album of the week solo. What do we got, Tom?
This one is Ringo Il Texano, which is the Texican.
Wow.
Starring Audie Murphy.
Who's the broad?
I don't know who that is. Nico Fidenko is the composer.
Well, show the cover again, Tom. Kind of looks like Brigitte Bardot meets Simone Blondell.
Yeah. Helga Lean, maybe.
If you're into that kind of thing. So tell us about the tracks, Tom. How good are they?
It's a 65 LP. on RCA, SP8014. It's also got Shadow of a Cult, which was Stephen Forsythe. So it's got 8 tracks on the Texan and 7 on Shadow of a Cult. Remember I told you some of the collectors hated reprints because they
Right.
used the same cover? This is a reprint, but they actually used the same album number and everything, and they got really ticked off because they spent $80 or so, and now I'm buying it for $20, and they look identical. I think if you looked at the record itself, you could tell the difference, but the original on this one is valued at $360.
Is that your copy? 360?
No, this is a reprint. It's
Oh,
probably
you said reprint.
yeah,
Okay.
it's probably $50. But like I said, I collected them because of the music. I wasn't collecting them for value because, like you said, I didn't think spaghetti westerns were going to be worth anything back in 1980.
Well, yeah. Well, with that one, maybe a reprint didn't bother you, but if it was a reprint album of a Leone soundtrack, maybe
yeah,
you'd wait
yeah.
for the original, Tom.
Right.
So anyway, so that was our album of the week. And let's see, did I miss playing? Oh, no, I thought I missed playing something. I have a little intro music before Tom does his weekly news. I guess we'll do autograph of the week, Tom. And
All right.
I guess I'll do
Go
that
ahead.
first. If I can solo layout me. There we are. Hi, folks. Autograph of the week. I have about 100 spaghetti western autographs, framed, matted. Some are up in other rooms, most are in storage. And I've told you, I've badgered many a celebrity over the last 40, 45 years. Wrong place, wrong time. But I was cool about it, though. I wouldn't be some sniveling, hey, I really liked you and this and that. I'd actually strike up a conversation, mention something obscure. And then, oh, really? And then I'd hand the pen over with a piece of paper, sometimes a photograph. This is 45 years of just casually going up to my favorite actors, celebrities, you name it, and getting an autograph or a picture. Yes, I'm kind of a fanboy or a monster kid or whatever you want to call it. But this is how I was able to acquire most of my spaghetti western autographs. Yul Brynner, I told you, was gotten at a screening of The King and I. He stands like this for 2 hours on screen. He comes off, did a Q&A, walking to his limo, and I put a Indio Black lobby card in his face. He has no choice but to sign it because it's so cool. So imagine that for 45 years, me going into various celebrities' personal spaces and saying, could you sign this, please? But at least they would give me a handshake or an acknowledgement. So I have plenty of stories on that, Tom, of the different celebrities that I've met getting an autograph. But the spaghetti western ones are the most cool ones. Anyway, not really a spaghetti western, Tom. Not really a spaghetti western star. Not really a spaghetti western movie, but it's the closest to a white Apache for Gregory Peck, Tom.
Well, there you go.
Stalking Moon.
Stalking Moon. That's one of my favorites. That's probably been my favorite Gregory Peck movie.
Oh, all more than To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
Or
this one is so
Moby Dick.
Yeah. Oh, crap. This one is so well done, and I mean the tension just keeps building and building and building. And then even when you think he kills the Indian, he still comes crawling back up the mountain.
Right. He's like Jason or Michael Myers.
Cannot kill him. Yep.
You can't keep a good Indian down back in those days.
Robert
Tom.
Forrester is fantastic in this, playing his buddy the scout. And
what's odd about this film, Tom, is it was billed as a horror film.
No, I can see that, but
oh no, I remember. Well, not when it first came out. I was a little young. But I did the research on this when it comes to, I'm a stickler for research. When this was promoted, a lot of the tags and the posters, Stalking Moon, can Gregory Peck survive?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean? It's a guy taking on an Indian.
Yeah, but you never
Why
see
are you
the
building
Indian.
it like a horror film?
Yeah, you never see the Indian. Even at the end, you just see glimpses of him running through the bush.
So this is a rare shot, Tom.
Yeah, that's great.
Anyway, here it is. I'm Gregory Peck.
Is it Eva Marie Saint plays the female lead?
I think so.
Think so, yeah.
I always confuse this with another one that he made, but I mean, when I see pictures, because he's just playing himself, he doesn't really have makeup or anything. He's got some
Yeah,
scratches from the
right.
fight. But anyway, that's autograph of the week
That's great.
from yours truly. Okay, now, oh, what's? Did you show yours yet, Tom?
I'm gonna make you happy. This is the
From the
last day of the book.
Oh, thank God, from the old
I'm,
actor's home
I'm
book.
finally, I'm finally finished with
They're
the
all
book.
sitting there waiting to die, Tom, and he puts a pen in their hand and says, "Sign here."
Now, this is gonna piss Robert off. This is one of our past guests, Robert Woods.
Wow.
Yep.
Is that all four of Robert?
No, just the bottom two.
Wait, I thought the up top two were Robert too.
This is George Willing. I don't know who he is, but that's Robert
Hey,
Woods.
show the Woods again, Tom. Hold it closer to the camera. Other way. There you go. Very cool. Hey, Tom, you SOB. That's what it says.
He says to Tom, "Nice of you to remember all I've forgotten."
Wow.
That was the first time I met him at Bill Connolly's house. And Bill had traced him down, and he was selling filtered water systems at that time in Los Angeles. And he invited him over to his apartment, and he asked me if I wanted to join him. What am I going to say? Hell no. Yeah, when?
Puro wants to have lunch.
Came over there after work, and I came in the apartment. He was already there, and he was sitting in a chair eating pizza, of all things. And I mean, this was in the 90s, and he looked exactly like he did when he was doing the films. He still had the beard, the brown, stood up. He was like 6'6". Oh my God. And he had tons of material because he had sent it back to his parents when he was in Europe. So he had, press books and posters and all kinds of material that a lot of them don't have.
Well, what makes Robert Woods so interesting is not only is he a legend in the spaghetti western genre, he lives in L.A.
Yeah.
Unpretentious. I ran into him a couple times myself at a couple events. I'm like, holy, here he is. Here's Star Black, or Black Jack. And I did that to him, and he laughed.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how I introduced myself. Yeah. Usually a celebrity would say, get out of my face. But he took to the humor, and we became friends. And, he's been on the show. And great guy. But my point is, that's one of the things about spaghetti westerns, as we get off track for a second, about the stars of the 60s and early 70s. They're very old. They're either European or Italian citizens, and that's where they live in Europe. So they're not going to be out here living, doing other things, writing books and enjoying life. But there's Robert Woods, just a typical example. Of course, Brett Halsey is another. And they're all out here just enjoying their days and their families and going to conventions and before this all happened and being a guest on our show. So when we can get them to talk about those days, it's so fun. That's the whole purpose of doing the show, is to reminisce about spaghetti westerns.
Yeah, and every one of them thought that was the greatest part of their lives when they were making films in Italy, because to the lowest guy to the biggest actor, they were all treated as stars, as like Cary Grant or Orson Welles. I mean, they were just treated as legends. And so to remember those days and talk about them, they're just willing to do it.
That's why we're here, Tom.
We are the archivists. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, Tom, this is a new segment we introduced, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it's Tom's reminiscing segment about the old Westerns all'Italiana magazine, I think 76 or 77 issues, Tom.
I think it's 76.
Okay. And how Tom would put them together, typesetting, cutting and pasting. He'd get the ideas together. He'd go to libraries. He'd go to bookshops, looking through catalogs. And then he'd come home. And, this is pre-computer, right, Tom?
Yeah. Typewriter.
And put together these great fanzine, Westerns all'Italiana. And so every week Tom's going to, I think, pick a past issue, and we're going to dissect it for an hour. So don't you go anywhere. Tom, what issue is it today?
I just pulled out a folder on Bad Man's River since we were bad-mouthing it the whole episode. I thought I would go into it and show you what I've collected on it for the issues. That's Unitalia page, which we got information on. Press book. And then we would get people that would send us copies of the backs or the fronts of videos. So I would collect all these things so that I could tell people that's available on video or whatever. Cutouts from TV guides. Let's see what else I got here real quick. Oh, this is a Spanish or German. Look what they called it there, Modelo.
Oh my God, not
No
again.
wonder I don't like Bad Man's River, yeah. But we got copies of stills.
What did you think of Tom, LVC in a black derby?
No, I don't know. That didn't like that at all. Didn't like that at all. French ad mat.
And some of these would be sent in from fans, right, Tom?
Oh, yeah. Fans would send this stuff in. They're Spanish or French. And then I've got the piece de resistance. Got to unfold this thing. You have one of these, Jay?
Let me see.
Have to get back a little bit to show it.
Wow.
Now that's another one that, like you and me, we don't like the titles on them because it's probably what, I don't know what that is. Westens Kanoner.
It's saying I shoot you.
It could be German.
Yeah, I think it is. The thing is, Tom, the print work, actually, the art makes up for it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because as you know, I love posters that have gunfire or a guy pointing the barrel directly at you in 3D.
Yeah,
And
we'd
yet I
forgive
couldn't
them
get
if it
into
was
coming
great
at you,
artwork.
Tom.
If it was great artwork, we'd forgive them. Yep.
Tom, what did you think of Coming At You real quick when it came out?
Oh, I loved it because I hadn't seen too many spaghetti westerns. I had dropped out years before.
You're kidding.
No, after I saw Stranger in Town, I didn't go see any. I only saw Lee Van Cleef and Leone and Eastwood.
Okay, I wasn't.
So-
I was like, okay, because I decided to wear the 3D glasses. And,
Oh yeah. I thought the opening scene when they're doing the credits, he's walking through a stable, and he grabs a lantern, or and that looked great. They weren't trying to play the 3D angle, but as the movie went along, it was like every 5 minutes, I got to shuck this corn in a bucket and show it dropping down.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Smell-o-rama.
Or the baby's butt and all that. No.
House of Wax 3D, absolutely. Coming at you, no. That's not a rag on Tony Anthony. He's good in anything he's in. Just the film for me. I mean, even I was younger. I was in my late teens. I just remember I wanted to see it, saw it. It was like, it was like the Lemonade Kid or the Spaghetti Western Kid.
Oh, yeah. Well, when he's just doing the natural stuff, he's hiding under the boardwalk, and the gun barrels come down. That looked fine. I mean, just.
I don't know why I'm bringing up Coming At You. It just popped in my head, which we're allowed to do here on the show.
Sure.
Okay, so now here we go, Tom. Another famous intro before we get to Tom's next segment. And here we go. That was so weak.
That was weak. Anyways, I'll make up for it. So if you haven't seen this on Facebook this week, and you're a CD collector or a fan of Morricone, you got to get a hold of this. There's a new CD release of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly by composer Ennio Morricone. As we know, directed by Leone, starring Clint Eastwood, Lee Van Cleef, and Eli Wallach. It comes from Spain's Quartet Records, number QR436. It contains 3 discs with 85 tracks of music and a total listing time of almost 3 hours. The extras include a 24-page booklet. And it's got one disc contains every piece of music in the movie. Another disc comprised of outtakes, and then there's also the old album that they've redone in stereo. It's about $35 or $40, but it's well worth the price if it's got every piece of music that Morricone did. Another piece of information that was just released this week is that Franco Nero, in a recent interview with Variety, announced that filming for Django Lives is scheduled to begin filming in New Orleans at the end of January 2020. 2021. Now, whether that actually happens or not, we don't know because of the COVID, but it's scheduled to start filming. Also, passings this week, American model and actress Pamela Tiffin died in New York City on December 4th. She was 78. She was born Pamela Tiffin Wanso in Oklahoma City. On October 13th, 1942, she began a modeling career while in her early teens, and she appeared with Franco Nero and Anthony Quinn in 1973's Deaf Smith and Johnny Ears. Also, borderline passing. Jay won't like this, but Tommy Tiny Lister passed away. He was a professional wrestler turned actor. He died at his home in Marina del Rey, California, yesterday. He was 62. They think it was from COVID. Lister was perhaps best known for his return as Debo in the Friday films. He was born in Compton, California on June 24th, 1958. He co-starred as Obobo in 1993's Posse, starring Mario Van Peebles. I consider it a spaghetti because it was a British, USA, Netherlands co-production. Birthdays this week. One of our favorites, Gilbert Roland, would have been 115, but he died in 94. I got to mention Gilbert. He's just great. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. Jean-Louis Trintignant turns 90 today. He was in The Great Silence, if you don't know who he is. Our buddy John Delaney turned 74 today. He was Return of Sabata, and Jay shows him every week with the beard. Luz Marquez turned 85 on the 12th. She was in The Texican. She played the ranch girl with the brown hair. And also, Tatsuya Nakadai turned 88. He'll turn on Sunday. He was in Today We Kill, Tomorrow We Die. And shout-outs, I want to say thank you to Simon Gelton for the use of his Gianni Garco biography for today's episode. That's it, Jay.
That is it, huh, Tom?
Yep.
Okay, absolutely fantastic news of the week, as always. So, I think that about covers everything, except we always give our thanks, like I'm thanking the Lord, Tom. Well, sometimes Seb is the Lord of the Spaghetti Western, and I'm talking about the one and only Seb Hasselback and that Spaghetti Western database. All your needs, top 20 lists, films, Hall of Fame. There's a forum with every type of topic, pictures, reviews, Blu-rays, a lot of entries there by our very own Tom Betts and other great writers, Phil Hardy, right, Tom?
Yep.
And it's basically your one source for spaghetti westerns. If, God forbid, anything happened to me or Tom or this show, I would say spend all your time on the Spaghetti Western database.
Well, he's got like a news of the week type of feature in the beginning that shows what's new. He also has a newsletter that will come out to you as an email to show any changes. So it's constantly being updated and keeps you up to date also.
Oh, he certainly does. And let's, I guess, thank all those groups. We've got Tom's Westerns All'Italiana, 800 Spaghetti Westerns in Spain, Once Upon a Time in Italy, private groups, Spaghetti Westerns with John
There he is, the birthday boy.
Spaghetti Western movie posters, Il Meglio di Western All'Italiana, of course, the Blu-ray group Unchained, Fanatiques de Western Spaghetti, Opera of Violencio, and our two friends Hideki Onu and Hulk Ginon, who helped supply today's video montage. So we salute both of you for that. Anyway, so Tom, anything else you want to add before we say sayonara?
That's it for now that I can think of. We'll keep working on trying to get Johnny on here, Gianni Garco, but until
That's
then,
right. We have open invitations. It's Richard Harrison, Gianni Garco, Franco Nero, Simone
Hunt
Blondell,
Powers.
Alberto DiMartino, Tony Anthony,
Jack
Hunt
Betts.
Powers.
Yep.
Who else, Tom?
Nicoletta Mock. No, I was going to say she passed away, but Raquel Welch.
Who's the gal in the Texican, Tom? Who's my favorite?
Oh, Diana Loris. Yeah, she's open.
She'll be here one of these days by hook or by crook. If doesn't matter how much I have to pay. My favorite spaghetti western actress of all time. So many different looks. Anyway, I guess we'll say tune in next week. And I think we've decided we're going to do a show on the one and only. Who, Tom?
Franco Nero.
Franco Nero. We're going to do a whole show on all the spaghetti westerns he was in. And I don't know if he'll be here.
Including
but
Kioma.
We'll do Kioma because I'll have to go 4, 3, 2, 1.
Do you know whose fingers those were?
Those were Enzo's.
That's right. Enzo Castellari, the director's fingers. Yep.
Right.
He put them in front of the camera. Yep.
So anyway, thank you all for watching show number 30 of Spaghetti Westerns, the podcast, which I've actually now is known as the Once Upon a Time in Spaghetti Westerns podcast. It goes easier on the tongue, Tom. The other one it was tough to say. Mm-hmm. So anyway, thanks once again to our loyal fan base and to newcomers who have joined the show. We're available 24/7 for free on YouTube and Facebook. You want to catch an episode you missed, you're feeling a little insomnia-ish, you haven't gotten some sleep, grab a beer, a cup of coffee, cold pizza, and binge watch a couple episodes. They're really entertaining and fun. I've actually sat and watched a few back. I didn't know how entertaining we were, Tom.
We still don't.
All right. So for the crew here, for Gertrude operating the lights. Okay, you can go now. I'm, of course, Jay Jennings, and this is the one and only.
I'm Tom Betts.
And Tom always says,
adios, amigos.
Adios, amigos, and adios,
compañeros.